Betty White was an American actress, comedian, producer, and animal rights activist. She was a trailblazer for women in the film industry. In 2018, a documentary titled Betty White, the First Lady of Television, was released to commemorate her accomplishments. Betty White influenced American history by breaking many industry standards not only for women but also for people of color. She's funded many cases of research that have saved the lives of millions of animals. Her TV shows have been household names for more than 70 years. Her shows have brought laughter, tears, and joy to families all over the country. Her accomplishments have brought her to visit places all over the world, even Northfield, where she took a picture in front of the very familiar Ollie store. Betty Marion White Ludden was born on January 17, 1922, in Oak Park, Illinois, which is about 20 minutes outside of Chicago. She was born an only child to Horace and Tess White. Her father was an electrical engineer while her mother was a housewife. At the age of 2, her family moved to Los Angeles, California. Growing up, Betty idolized Jeanette MacDonald and Nelson Eddy. She attended Beverly Hills High School, and here's where she discovered her passion for acting. She even wrote and starred in her class graduation play in 1939. After graduation, she was set on pursuing a career in acting. Right out of high school, she landed a few small roles, such as singing in an experimental TV show with a classmate and voicing a radio commercial. However, this didn't last long because there was a bigger issue going on: World War II. In 1941, Betty joined the American Women's Voluntary Services. She drove a PX truck and helped deliver soap, toothpaste, and candy to soldiers stationed in Santa Monica and Hollywood, California. This is where she met her first husband, Dick Parker, who was a pilot in the Air Force. They got married on July 9, 1945. However, the marriage was short-lived and they got divorced the same year. Betty then refocused her attention to her acting career. She began acting at the Bliss Hayden Little Theater in LA and got her first lead role in the comedy Dear Ruth. In the audience, there is an actor-turned-agent named Lane Allen. He encouraged and supported Betty to pursue a career in comedic acting. The two got married in 1947, but yet again the marriage is short-lived and ended 2 years later in 1949. However, that same year she had her first big break. She appeared on a local talk show called Al Jarvis's Hollywood Television. When Mr. Jarvis left the show, she succeeded him as a host. She broke standards as she was considered the first woman to host a talk show. Throughout the 1950s, Betty scored a few of her own shows that she produced herself, most notably the show Life with Elizabeth. White broadened the typical range and role of the ditzy housewife character with winking self-awareness and proto-feminist irrelevance, says Littman from the Smithsonian Magazine. She was faced with her first large amount of criticism from a variety show she hosted and produced in 1954. The show regularly featured an African-American tap dancer named Arthur Duncan. People were already skeptical of a woman producing a show herself. With the added aspect of featuring an African-American, Betty White faced lots of criticism and backlash. She was pressured to remove him from the show, however she refused. Her response was live with it, and she continued to feature Arthur Duncan on the show, and he has since thanked her for his career. During the 1960s, Betty was featured on many game shows, most notably the show Password. This is where she met the host Alan Ludden. The two fell in love and got married in 1963. He was truly the love of her life, and they stayed married until his death in 1981. Betty White's career truly skyrocketed in 1970 with her role in The Mary Tyler Moore Show. In 1985, she landed her most famous role in the show The Golden Girls. After the show finished airing, Betty White continued to stay a household name. In 2010, she was featured on an episode of Saturday Night Live, and to this day, it is one of the most viewed episodes of all time. She was nominated for 21 Primetime Emmy Awards and won 7. She is the first woman to ever win an Emmy for Most Outstanding Host. She is also nominated for 1 Grammy Award and won it for Best Spoken Album. Betty White's legacy goes far beyond just acting. Born into a family of animal lovers, Betty has always had a passion for them. Originally, she wanted to be a forest ranger, however, this title was only given to men at the time. Growing up, she had more pets than you could count, and this continued into her adult life. It is said that the main reason for her first marriage ending is due to when she went back to visit his family in Ohio. They told Betty to go out in the yard, kill a chicken, and bring it in for dinner. As soon as the couple got back to California, she filed for divorce. In the 1960s, she joined the Los Angeles Zoo Board of Directors because she was unhappy with the way the animals were being kept. She was quoted saying, "I've never been one to stand outside and criticize. I'd rather get inside and see what's going on, see how I can help." She continued on the board for over 50 years and made huge differences in the zoo's conditions. She once arrived with the trunk of her car filled with empty toilet paper tubes she'd been saving since she knew the zoo needed them to stuff with food for enrichment games for the animals. She also worked closely with the Morris Animal Foundation, which is a research facility that helps fund research for animal health. She personally sponsored more than 30 studies that improved health for dogs, cats, horses, and wildlife. In 2010, the organization created the Betty White Wildlife Rapid Response Fund with a gift from Betty following the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. The fund, now called the Betty White Wildlife Fund, continues to fund research and address wildlife disasters. For instance, in 2020, the fund provided $1 million to support the rescue, rehabilitation, and release of animals after the devastating wildfires in Australia. Eventually, her original dream came true, and she was made an honorary forest ranger by the Forest Service and helped out whenever her schedule allowed. She was a 2009 recipient of the Jane Goodall Institute Global Leadership Award for Lifetime Achievement. Betty White continued her love for animals through the age of 99. Her most recent addition, a bear named Bam Bam, who she fed marshmallows to regularly.
What's that? How's that? Is that good? Is that good? I'm the luckiest old broad on 2 feet.
Betty White sadly passed away on the morning of December 31st, 2021, just 3 weeks before her 100th birthday. However, she had a long-lived life, and her legacy will continue to live on and inspire many.